So what we did was we designed this in model space all at the same time in one file. But I think that it will be easier to do these views here of different components if you just have one object. Now, if this was a chain link, you could conceivably turn off, if I get this going, there's your chain link, right? So I could go in and no-show this, but you'd have to put things on different layers, and seeing regions bothers me too. You exploded something somewhere along the way. So what I'm going to do is we'll leave this as the alignment tool, but these two layouts I'm going to delete. All right. So I only have the assembly here. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a file save as, and for each component I'm going to create a new file. So I'm going to call this JAGS chain link. Alright, I should have my uppercase characters on. Now, because this is the chain link, I can go in here and simplify the drawing, and I'm going to delete everything that's not the chain link. Alright. Now, what I want to do is line up the chain link so that I have a good front view here before I start creating views. So I'm going to switch here to my 3D tools. Oh, I'm already there. Okay. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to hit that one. I missed. So I'll go back to the other drawing. I'm going to use the 3-point and line up. So that this is now my top view, and this stuff in here that I can't delete because it was locked, I'm going to unlock the layer so I can have a little cleaner drawing. Alright, so I'm looking for the one with the lock on. There it is. Now I can delete this. Double click on my wheel and I should have a chain link. And that's a nice front view because I'm seeing the cutout, but I don't see the holes very well. So I should have at least one other view or something. But before I start doing views, I'm going to switch back to 2D wireframe because it creates the views a little better. And then in here, I'm going to delete the viewport and delete these items and delete the table. All right. And I would also update my title block. So this would say chain link. Let's put the cap locks on. And somewhere along the way you're going to have to decide what page it is, but you should have your initials in there and revision. Oh, and that says 2:1 here for the scale. And I think on your assembly drawing it was at half scale. So you should change your assembly to 1:2. I'm going to leave this here for the chain link because I think 2:1 will work very well for the chain link. But this is going to be, I don't know, page 2 or 3. If you had a copy of your bill of materials, you could make it in the same order, top to bottom. So I don't know what page, but you should update that on yours. All right, apply all those. So now it's updated. Now I'm going to use this tool to create views. That's what this tool does. It creates orthographic views, and it will line up one view to the other view. All right. So I start this tool, and normally if I have it, let me just back up here. Usually if I have this set up and I see X and Y here, I'm good to go. Sometimes it doesn't always work, but we'll try it. All right. And sometimes I just back out and try it a second time. I haven't changed anything, and it seems to work the second time. But we're lining it up with the user coordinate system, so the UCS. And the current viewport is the one I want, and I think we'll go to a scale of 2. All right. Yep. And we'll see if it's lined up right. And it's perfect, right? Now, I'm going to leave myself enough room for another view over here, but I can move this anywhere I want. But this is the front view, right side, or top view is normally the next view. So in there somewhere is good. 2 corners of the viewport, and I don't care what you call it. I'm going to call it view number 1. All right. Then I'm going to orthographically project off of this side of the viewport for my second view. All right. 2 corners for the viewport. Don't make them too tight. Call this view number 2, or right side view, or whatever you want. All right. I don't think I need any other views. I want to see as much as I can. This hole here is going to be in a hidden line in both views, but I can pretty clearly see what it is. I think 2 views is enough for this. All right. So I'm done this tool. So I can hit enter or escape. Now the next tool I use is this tool here, and this creates 2-dimensional geometry. Now before I create the, well, it really doesn't matter. You can just hit this. Sometimes in class I was offsetting or moving my UCS before I did this, and it just keeps the geometry off the object, but it really doesn't matter where it is. This will create it right on the X and Y plane where I had my UCS, and then that's fine. This is the way I used to always do it. It's just a little more visual. If I'll do the next tool, I'll offset it. But all right. So this tool. Hi, Doug. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm still here. Yep. Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay, bye. In the little meeting room here. A117. Yep, bye. So this next tool creates 2-dimensional geometry. And all I have to do is pick the viewports, right? And you see how it changed? It created some hidden lines. Now, the hidden lines are a little big, so I'm going to type LT scale. And maybe try a 0.5, cut it in half. Because what I'd like to see is, I'd like to see at least 2 lines there. 3 is a little better. And I don't see any hidden lines in here, so I'm going to go maybe a little bit smaller, 0.25, cut it in half again. Well, now I see hidden lines here, right through. I like that a little better, right? So that's sorted out. Now, each one of these viewports has its own layers for dimensions. And let's see what you have in here for blocks, because what I'd like to do is always start by putting my center marks on first, and I don't see a C mark here anywhere. You don't have a center mark block from...
I made it last time.
Did you? In another file?
Yeah.
If you have it somewhere else, we can always go to the Control 2 and bring in the block from another file. So I hit Control 2. Because I can't dimension to a whole, it doesn't, there isn't anything that exists, eh? I just, oh, but these are my files, aren't they? Yeah. Where am I? Table.
Maybe in my drawing?
No, you don't have one in your drawing. I just looked, right? Let me see if I've got one on somewhere. Or we just create one. Because you should know how to create one.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is go to, we can do this in model space or paper space, it really doesn't matter. I'm in paper space right now. So I'm going to create a circle with a radius of 1. I'm going to put this on the viewport layer, or layer 0. And we'll make that layer current. So we're working on layer 0. Now, if I go to the Annotate tab and select my centerline dim style, then I can use this tool here that creates center marks. Nice center mark. Alright. Now I'm going to make a block out of that. So insert, create block, and we'll call this C mark. Pick point is going to be the center of the circle right there, and the objects are going to be these objects here, and scale uniformly, and that works okay. I'm going to leave the original objects here because I'm going to make the other one that you need as well. And now you have a center mark tool. But I want the center mark always to be, so I'm going to, if I leave it on layer 0, it will adopt the properties of whatever layer I insert it on. What I want to do is an override, so I'm going to come back over here and find the properties. I can never remember where it is here. I can do it this way too. Control 1. So instead of layer 0, well, the layer 0 is okay, but I want to make sure that it's always the default line thickness, and that the color is not by layer, but it is always going to be blue. And there is the other one, by layer, line type. The line type is always going to be continuous. So that's an override of those three properties. Otherwise it would adopt all the properties of whatever layer I was putting it on. So that's one. Alright. Then I'm going to take these objects again and create another one. Insert, create block, and we're going to call this C line. And the pick point is going to be the 9 o'clock position. The objects are going to be these positions here. And I think I'm okay. The only thing I want to do is reduce the size of this. So I'm going to take these items and the scale. I'm going to scale this here, scale, using 0, 0. So that point that's right there is going to stay where it is, and I'm going to make it half as big by putting in 0.5. Right. This little piece here I don't need, so we'll delete that. And now I have a C line. Oh, but before I do that, cancel. I want to do the same thing here and do an override. So control 1. I want the color to always be blue. I want the line type always to be continuous, and the line weight to always be the default line thickness. Alright, now we'll save this. Alright, so this I don't need anymore, and then I can zoom in here. So this was view number 1, right? So as I start to add layers, I want this to be on one dimension layer. And I see they're not blue at the moment, so we could go into layers, and if you have filters on here, we could use your filtering tools. Let's see if there's filters. Awesome. So the thick ones should be thick. Now that one got in there, but let's have a look at your filter here. Ah, they're the lines that are thick. Now what you want in here is the lines that have viz in the title, or the PV layers, or the border layers, or the section line layers. Alright, so by the naming convention is how I'm going to grab these. And this row here, can I delete the row? Delete row. Oh, how come I deleted that row? Delete row. Duplicate row. Delete row. Deleting the wrong row. Delete row. Oh, there it's gone now. Okay, let's add those other ones back in there. So
Delete 3 times.
Well, I wasn't. I was selecting out here. I should have selected it here instead. It was my fault. SEC. So now it's looking for the files that are using those names in the naming convention. All right. So here it's got viz. It's got the border. See, it's got all these viz layers and the PVs. These are the ones that I want to be thick. All right. So now I can click in here, do a Control A, and make these all thick just by clicking a thick one and saying OK. And here, so that we should change the name of that. Should be thick. And I should have a should be blue on here.
This section was in the last, like, in the last 5 minutes. I didn't get through it. The last time.
In what way?
Yeah, the last time I was making a video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stuck in MB7. After that, I didn't go through that one. Like, I didn't go further.
Oh, Okay. Well, here I've got all the dimension layers. I can do Control A, pick a blue one, say OK. And should be red, and this is by, again, naming convention, so the hidden lines, the PH layers, and what else? The hatch layers, HAT. And now you can click in here, do a Control A, pick a red one, and now they're all red. Alright, let's go back here to all first before we disappear. Now we got red, right? Red, and if I turn on my line weight display, I should see a difference between the thick lines and the thin lines.
Polish should be off.
No, it should be on. I just want to make sure I lock this up before I start zooming. So both of these are locked. Yeah, I usually leave that turned on. But now you can see thick lines and thin lines, right? So before you start dimensioning, the next step is always to put on your center marks. So if I'm working on this view, I want to be on the number 2 dimension layer. Now I insert my C mark. And I click on the middle of the circle and quadrant. There's one. And we'll do the other one here. So there's another center mark. Alright. Now this one here, I actually need a center line here too. So if I explode this one, explode is under here, then I can take this line and stretch it up. In fact, I could stretch it right up to there if you wanted. There's nothing wrong with that. And stretch this one down, straight down, so it's outside of the part here somewhere. Right. So now I got a center line and a center mark. Alright. And on this one here, I'm going to switch the layers again because this is the number 1 view, right? Number 1 dimension layer. Insert your C mark, or C line, sorry. Now, here I'm going to right click and start it midway between 2 points, between here and here. And for the size, pick the other side. Alright, so there's a center line. And this one here, insert the same thing. You could do this with the center line too. You can use these tools a couple of different ways. I'm going to use the center mark this time, and I'm going to start it midway between 2 points, between here and here, and I'm going to make it a little bigger and then explode it. So back to here, explode, and then I can take this and stretch it out. It should extend out beyond this visible line, right? And this I shouldn't be seeing right now. Usually, as it creates layers, it takes care of this business automatically. Alright, but I can fix it. So, let's see. Yeah, that's okay. This one may be a little bit bigger. If I scale it, and use the midpoint, 1.2 or something, a little bigger. There, that looks a little better, right? Now in this view I'm seeing this geometry in here, it looks like, and I shouldn't be. So let's try, see this tool here. Should be able to freeze that in the current viewport. Oh, how did that disappear? Control Z. Where's this on? It should be on, oh, because it's on, when I exploded it, it went back to layer 0. That's why. So I'm going to take these and put these on the number one dimension layer, and they disappeared from this view. And this one here I exploded over here. So this one here is also on layer 0. I want to put that on the number 2 dimension layer. And that makes it disappear off of this view. Alright, so you put on the center lines and center marks first, and now you start to dimension it. So there you go, annotate, and I'm working on, I'll do this one because I've got the layer set up. Then you can start adding dimensions. So you can put a dimension on here. Now that looks a little big. And my viewport's a little tight, so I can go back out to paper space anytime I think that my dimensions or my viewport's a little small. I can always stretch them out. But we have scaled this at a scale of 2 to 1, so my dimensions are actually twice as big as they have to be. And actually this one here, I'm going to use the center line, or not the center line. The only time I ever use that one there is when I create those center marks. So I'm going to use this dim style, but what I'm going to do is make it half as big, because the scale of my object is 2 to 1, so I make this 0.5. And that'll bring it back to 1/8 of an inch height, right? Which is your minimum text height. So that gives you the most room for your dimensions. Now you start adding your dimensions. Well, I forget what they are, but I know that there's a dimension on here. I think this one's pretty tight. Maybe 3 decimal places. If it's just 1, you can always change the decimal places here. If there was a tolerance on it, you can add a tolerance as well. Or you can add a new dim style. So you could take this one and make a copy of it. Call it plus or minus, whatever the dimension is. So let's see, alt function 177 plus or minus 0.002.
How do you get the plus minus?
Well, it has to be on the numeric keypad, right? And on a laptop without the numeric keypad over here, see these numbers? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's my numeric keypad.
Okay. Like
I have to hold that one down to make it work, right?
This is, what is this?
Function button.
We have in a laptop?
On a laptop. If you don't have the numeric keypad, you will.
Yeah, I have.
You have the numeric keypad?
Yeah.
So you use the numeric keypad. You just hold down the Alt button and type over here 0177.
0177.
Yeah.
And enter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say it was plus or minus 2000. I don't know what the tolerance is, but if you have a dim style, you can add tolerances here. So this is symmetrical, and it's 2000. 0.002. That's 2/10. Let's take out 1 0. And we want to see it in 3 decimal places, I guess. Otherwise, we won't see it. So now, if you had something with a different tolerance, you can just pick a dim style. All right. Oh, there's the new dimension. Oh, I should change the primary units on there too. Let's go in here on modify. And probably primary units will go to 3. So I don't know what your tolerances are, but that's how you would do it, right? And if you have a diameter or something, always use the diameter tool. Here I had a couple of notes on here. Let's finish this view first. I had, is that you, Doug?
Hey, Doug.
Oh, you weren't 20 minutes. You're only about 2 minutes. But that's okay. You're allowed to be early. In this one, it just said it to be equal, right? So I'm going to delete the default dimension and just put an equal sign there. All right. And this, you could, I think there's enough room to get it in the middle, right? Equals. All right, I like that one. You can mirror that to over if you want to get one on the other side. So mirror this. Use the midpoint. Now you got equal sign. Okay, good. Okay, so you put the rest of the dimensions on. I think there's some dimension for the depth, but we can put some of those in this view as well. So now I'm working in another viewport. So I go here, and I go annotate, and it's the diameter. I gotta hit here. Why isn't that moving? I should be able to put that anywhere I want. Kind of restriction. Let's try this dim style. Oh, that one looks to work better. Alright, so there's a diameter. Now if this is in fractions, you can change that. You might want another dim style here, so make a copy of this one and fraction, or if it's in 16ths or something, you could say I want it in 64ths, and then continue. And primary units, we're going to go fractional with a tolerance of 64ths. And then this one you could pick the fractional one. Alright, 1/8. I kind of like to have it so that it's not stacked. So if I modify, I can go in here and horizontal, not stacked. Right? I think it takes up less room, but it's entirely up to you. Either way is right. Alright. And let's see, while we're on there, we can do a radius maybe here too. Well, it's doing it too. Let's see what the setting is in here for here. This one. Place text manually. I always check that box, right? Because that makes it a whole lot easier to manipulate and move things around. Otherwise it locks up and you can't move it. So modify, we'll change all of them. Then you'll find it a little easier to work on. But so you can go from here to here. That gives you the depth of the hole. And again, I don't know what the tolerance was on there, whether it was fractional or what it was. I think it was 0.4. If my recollection serves me. And the width, so there's one part done, right? That wasn't so bad, was it? And then you'd save it, Control S. Now, go back to your other drawing. Is it still open? Drawing number 1. No. So let's open it up again. We'll make another copy of it. So that's JAG's alignment tool. Now, we should have a look at some of these other components because there's something weird going on in here, eh? So let's,
See, like you already opened my drawing, ELA, so that's why you like.
no, there's something messed up here. Yeah. Let's save as, and we'll call this JAG's body.
Like you can make everything separately, right?
Yeah, it just makes it a little easier to work on, and until you're more used to what the software is doing, I think you'll have an easier time working on it that way. So on this one, I just want to delete everything except for the body. I see some weird stuff going on in here.
I don't know why.
Oh yeah, you got a mess here, and oh, the rods are here too. So they maybe weren't. So I'm going to delete the rods. So this should be your body, but when I see this display here, that's indicating that this is a surface or region. Oh, there it is. Surface, surface, circle. It's not a hole through a solid, right? What's this thing? This is a... You exploded this somewhere along the way.
Oh, yeah, it's not like 30 minutes like I was doing here.
Yeah.
I had a problem.
Well, you still got a problem because you've got surfaces here. It's not a 3D solid model. See, I think you exploded it somewhere along the way, and that's what you get. You get lines, or sometimes you get a region, which is a flat surface. All right. We got to turn this back into a solid. So what I would suggest is you delete these guys here, or at least move them out of the way. Yeah. But it won't take long, watch. Alright, I'm going to take those out. I'm going to take that out. And do you think you had a problem with the geometry in here? So we should check on that while we're working on this as well. I'm gonna take out these two circles. Okay, and the rest of this is, whew, if I could save some of that would be good, eh? Let's see. It looks like it's all in the right place. You just exploded it once when you shouldn't have. Let's just take it. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to, let's see, go back here and line up my UCS with the home, because that should give me an X and Y. Front view. Here again, I'm going to get rid of this extra stuff you got out to the side here. Unlock. Alright, so let's roll this over a little bit. And I'm going to take this stuff, delete it. What will that do for me? So that gives me something I can use to create two-dimensional geometry from, or three-dimensional geometry, right? So this I'm going to join together, modify, turn it into a polyline, join all this stuff, and this stuff, and this stuff, close. Now we can extrude this. Oops, it's open somewhere. So let's try that again. Okay. Join. Well, let's use this for the radius of 0. Oh, we got some geometry on top of geometry. Well, floating around with this tool on here, I can see when I got one thing on top of another. Oops, not there. Okay, the rest looks clean. Oops. If I get near a corner, it'll look like I have two objects, but it's just because the ends of two objects are actually on top of each other. Right? Well, let's try this again. Modify. Join. List. What is it? And it's a polyline. LW polyline. LW polyline. Let's explode it and see what we got. Ah, there was two lines there. Okay, we'll try it again.
Now,
Yeah, I hope so. It's still open somewhere. Well, let's just clean it up one more time here. We'll explode it. Float around here with my mouse one more time. Okay. And another good practice is sometimes use this and make sure that the corners are all nice and clean. Something looks weird there. Ah, that might have been it. All right, one more time. Maybe we got it this time. Oh, there's something in there. Oh, you know what it is? I know what it is. I know what it is. Let's click here. We can only create a polyline on an X and Y plane, and we're working on Z and X, right? So click on the View tab here, and then it will be okay.
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, yeah. It just occurred to me. I looked down here, and I go, oh, that's what it is.
Just we can
It's all got to be on the same plane, right?
don't have to do it like separately one by one. Just go to X, Y, and
Oh, you have to flatten it out. Now that it's all on the X and Y plane, that should work fine. List, so the polyline still, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna explode this again now. Now, one more time here. No, doesn't look like it like the corner, but we can always fix that later. Right? But now it's one object on the X and Y plane, right? And we can extrude it up 1 inch, right? So the corner in here we can straighten out. Right now it's like a little corner on here. We can do this a couple of ways. We can use the fillet tool here again, or I could just use this geometry here. I have some geometry here. If I connect the line from end to end, I should be able to turn that into a polyline. And join the other line that I just added there. And extrude that up. Nope, that's just the line. Why didn't that try? Let's do it the other way. Alright, so I can create a fillet here. That's 1/4 inch, I think, isn't it? First object. Oh, let me back up. I'd rather do it this way. So, join that with it's a full circle, but I'm going to extrude that up an inch. And subtract it. Alright. So I'll subtract from this object, subtract that object. And now I have a radius in the corner, right? And that original line is still in there, so delete that, now I've got a radius. This is a 3D solid model though, right? It's not lines, it's not, it has a weight and everything, right? Now, in here, I can, let's see, line this up here. If I rotate this around, I can probably delete some of this geometry and then just extrude it out again. Actually. Let's see if I got a region in here. Okay, let's see. There's a region. But to extrude it, let's line up our X and Y axes here again. Alright, and extrude this region. Oh, that worked. Alright. So we can do the same thing here. We can also line up the surface with this face tool here. Select the face. X and Y is now lined up with that face, and we'll see if we can extrude this region out. Awesome. So now I do another subtract from here. I subtract this and this. And there's those surfaces, and now you can redo the holes. And the holes, let's see, is there an easy way to do those? Got a chamfer on both ends. I'd be inclined just to do it from scratch, but that would be faster. So let's go back to the world, the front, and we can line up our surface on this surface, and X and Y right in the middle, and then we can put on a couple of cylinders here. That's at minus, I forget what it is, 0.5. Don't remember. Oh, it doesn't matter, you can look at the drawing later. But X and Y is at the bottom. No. So I need to work from X and Y, so I thought I used this. It should line up with the top face. X and Y is now on the top face. And I can line up with the middle here. Or I could use 3 points and line up with the midpoint here at X. And that one's Y. I mean, you can rotate this around any way you want. That's convenient when you're working on it, right? Now X and Y is lined up with the top surface. See where it is? Because that's where we measure the hole from. And it's in the middle of the block, right? So now you can put a cylinder on here at minus 0.5 or whatever the dimension is, comma 0. D for diameter, and it's 1/4 inch on the outside diameter. So, did I say D for diameter? D. Oh, I already did. So 1/4. And we're going down 1 inch. And we can then put on the tap drill size, which is D.201, here, you can pick something. So that's the cylinder-like shape. And if you line it up here, you can chamfer that. Chamfer. D for distance, and the distance is like from here to here. So this. Okay. Oh, I forgot to subtract the hole, didn't I? So, subtract from this one, subtract that one, and then the chamfer will work. Should. Come on. Chamfer, D for distance. Is this one object? Let me just check that. Yeah. Alright, one object. So I think I subtracted the whole. Chamfer. There's the distance. Same for the other one. There's the top one. There's the bottom one. And then you can pull or array that across if you want. Pull or array. And let's see, we just need one row. 3, so one row. And in here it's a -5. Or is it a negative number in here? 0.625, I think it was. That was it. 1, 2, 3. It's 5, isn't it? And then we take 1 off, right? Right, so I'm done. And then this is one object. I'm going to have to explode it. So go over here and explode it, and then it'll be separate items, right? And this one gets deleted. So there's your 4 holes. And for expediency, I just leave it like that. It'll work. And then in here, you need that other hole here. So you're going to line this up with the end here again. And then from here, X and Y is lined up with the end. We put a cylinder on here. X is going to be 0.5. Y is going to be, I forget what it was, 3/4 maybe. D 1/8. And in this direction, I think it was 3/8. Does that sound right? Then I'm going to move this from here to here.
So we're gonna make this in a B-port?
Pardon me?
We're gonna make this in a B-port?
Oh, it doesn't matter. We can change this later. You just select everything and put it on any layer you want. Yeah. Like that better? All right, let's make that layer current then too. All right, so now I've got that poking out, and we can see it if we go into shaded view. All right. So now what I want to do is use this tool, find the interference between this object and this object. And I can't see it in red. Let's go back to wireframe and see if I can see it. It should light up in red, eh? Ah, there it is. Alright, so we're going to keep it rather than delete it. So I'm not going to delete it, because that's telling me where to move this to. I'm going to move this from here using that quadrant. I'm going to move it to that quadrant. So that's the midpoint. You know what I want to do? Oh no, this way. I want to move this using that quadrant to that quadrant. That's where it's got to be, right? And this one I can delete now that I've got this in the right position. But it's not going to poke out unless I make it a little bit longer. And then I have to put my drill point on the end. So I'm going to line up my UCS on the end of the circle, using the center point and a couple of quadrants. I want to work on X and Y, so I'm going to rotate about the X-axis. And I can snap on a polar. I don't have X and Y lined up, yeah. That works alright. So then from here, from the center of the circle to this quadrant, there's my one, whoops. Let's go from the center of the circle to the quadrant, and then we'll put on unlimited length line at an angle of 31 or 59, I can never remember. 31. And whoops, if I did it from here. That's a line here from here to the top. So that's where that's going. And then this line here, I'm going to stretch it over to this quadrant instead. Because that gives me my triangle. And then I can use the fillet with a radius of 0. It's still there. Turn it into a polyline.
Like in my computer, it's not showing the commands over down here.
Well, maximize your window.
I did so.
If your window's not maximized and this is sitting down here, you won't see them. You always maximize.
Okay.
Yeah. And now I'm going to rotate this around. That point. Not permitted. I don't know what that's talking about. So between here and here, we rotate that around. 360 is the default. We can join those two together. And then we can subtract that from here. And I got a hole again. So now this is the this is going to be the I'm going to delete 2 of these. Whoops. Doesn't really matter which 2. Delete.
You actually left only third row, right?
Pardon me?
We only left third row?
No, this is just the body. It's not going to take body. Actually, we did the body on a B-size sheet, didn't we? So let's bring in a B-size sheet from your, oops, Control 2, from your template file if you had one. Bring in a B-size sheet. You could do that from your template file. Now you got a B-size sheet, right? This one I can delete. B-size sheet will just give you a little more room. Alright. And we can delete that viewport. Update your title block and everything, and we use these tools in here. Now before we start, again, get in the model space. Make sure you've got this lined up with something. That should be my front view, but I have Z and X showing here, right? So I'm going to have X and Y showing there. Alright. Oh, you got the other hole to put in here. I forgot that hole. Alright, do you remember how to put that in? So I want to line up my axes here, 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 X and Y, and then I'm going to move it to the back midpoint of this line here, and then cylinder and an X. Center point is 3/16, comma 0, comma 0, diameter 5/16, and it gets slipped out of this side, then subtracted, subtract from this, subtract this. Alright, now let's go back to world, front, view, X and Y is lined up, you're ready to go, okay? Should be. Now, make sure you can see your whole paper here, and then you start with modeling, and we create viewports first. So, UCS, I don't know why dynamics turned off. Let's start here again. Dynamic, okay. I think we went full scale on this. Works okay. So, UCS, current, yes. There's your front view. Corners of the viewport, and again, I don't care whether you name them or number them. There's view number 1, and we're going to orthographically project out the top here for top view. Put it up here. Some of that we'll delete later, but two corners of the viewport. View number 2. Now, the other views we're going to orthographically project 4, so, or auxiliary view. All right. From this one, I'm going to use the end point of this line, end point of this line, and the end point of this line, and project over here somewhere. So I have that geometry showing as a solid line. And again, you can delete stuff later. This is view number 3. View number 4, auxiliary view as well.
Put the view number like just 3 or like?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter.
Like for the view ports, like we have which one is the command for the view? View number? Just a view? V for view?
No. It's using this tool up here. Let me do the next one, then you can see it. Alright, so this one is from an inclined plane again, from this view, using the end point here, and an end point here, and we're coming out this way again. So that gives me this geometry undistorted, or the location of the hole, right? Now the rest of this stuff I'm going to delete, so don't worry about it being overlapping right now. Two corners of the viewport. Now that was view 1, 2, 3. This is number 4, right? For enter view name. Number 4.
Yes.
Or auxiliary view 3, or whatever you want to call it, right? I'm going to do
It's
another.
like you did here something, right? What
No.
you did here?
For what? Auxiliary view,
Yeah.
right? From this viewport, and then I need to identify the inclined plane I'm projecting from. So shift endpoint, and I want that point out there, and another endpoint down in here, and that's the geometry for the end, right? This is 1, 2, 3,
Six.
4, 5. 5.
5, yeah. Just a 5.
I don't think I did another one. I think that's all you need.
Maybe just first, second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah. Now, the next thing to do is take all these viewports before you mess up anything. Make sure they're all locked into position. Alright. And then we run the next tool. Creates a two-dimensional geometry, right? And again, just picking viewports. Alright. Then you can go into each view and delete the stuff that you don't need. So in this view here, you would delete all this stuff. Don't think you need any of that. You'd put a use this tool here to locate your UCS on the geometry, and then you can put your spline on there, and you can mirror this line over to the other side because I deleted one too many. Alright, and on the top view you're going to delete everything. Really, I only needed this for the location of the slot, which you're going to add on here later. Alright, so you can again delete most of this geometry. Maybe not the, just delete this geometry maybe. Like this. Add a squiggly line down the end. Alright.
Like this.
Yeah, just grab this and snap on the end of the line. And just put a spline on there. Click, 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 click.
But explain how to do here. Just straight line. The down one. There you just did here.
This one here?
No. Drag it down. This one.
Oh, this one. This would be just a spline line too.
No, for the here this line. Side line.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you can rotate your axes around. About Z. Oh, let's give them the right view first. Rotate about the Z axis. And I don't know, maybe we should use 3 point. 1, 2, and now you're lined up. And then to get that other line on, you can use the mirror function. Mirror this over this. And my polar's not working. Oh, the polar's turned off. There you go. Alright, and put your spline on. This object that I just added here, in this view, this object here should be on, if you're not sure what view it's on, what layer it's on, just click here, number 2, whoops, number 2 viz, right? So this should be on the number 2 viz layer, and then it will disappear from all these other viewports, right? 2 viz, right? Just disappeared in all the other views. Alright, when you add this one, this is going to be on the number 5 viz layer, right? So, and you can also use this tool. You don't even have to look, I just want it on the same layer as that, so that's what I use that for. And then click, 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 click. And then you can use a corner where the radius is 0 to trim both lines at the same time. Put on your center marks, and then you can put on your dimensions. And if you have to move the viewports a little bit, you can always stretch them up, it doesn't matter. If you have to move a whole view, that's can be done too. You just rotate your axes around a little bit so you can use the polar. Or you can put your polar on increments here, 15-degree increments or something, and then you can very easily move. For example, if you wanted to move this, you could drag it down and line up a polar at the right angle. Alright, so they're at 15-degree increments. You just want to make sure that you're doing it the right way. I would probably leave it at 90s and then rotate it around the other way here. If you leave this at 90, rotate your axes about the Z axis here. Paper space. So, I'll rotate about the Z axis. This angle I think is 30 degrees. And check it out, see it lines up with this. So now you can take this, if you want to move this viewport out, you're maintaining your alignment with the original object, right? So if you want to move that a little closer, you could, alright, move it a little farther away. And it's just following the polar out, right? You can put it wherever you want now. Alright. So it was a little more than an hour, but I'm almost finished.
I'm also finished if I do this.
Yeah, if you finish the alignment tool, you're done. Alright. Now that was an hour. Let's say you've got the other components. You've got the threaded rods and the nut. They shouldn't take you any longer than this part because they're pretty simple. Alright. So you got about 4 hours worth of work there. Alright. If you have a question, send me an email and say I'm having trouble with this and send me your file. And I'll do another tutorial if I'm missing something, okay? Alright. So, I'm going to stop my recording here and hopefully it recorded an hour and 7 minutes.